How do you propose to make this investigation?
Well, I've established contact and created some familiarity with the Klansman over the phone. I'll continue in that role, but I'll need another officer, surprise, surprise, a white officer to play me when they meet face to face.
That's my point exactly.
Chief, black Ron Stallworth over the phone, white Ron Stallworth face to face, so there becomes a combined Ron Stallworth.
Can you do that?
I believe we can. With the right white man, we can do anything.
What is up, movie lovers and bud smokers, and welcome back to another episode of 5 on It. We are your hosts. I am Francisco.
And I'm Sir Frazier.
And on today's episode, we are continuing Black History Month, and we are going back to 2018, going with the Spike Lee directed Blackkklansman. But before we dive into that, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. Drop some comments below on what your score is on Blackkklansman, maybe some of your highlights as well. Sir Frazier, tell the people what you're smoking on.
Man, I'm back at it again with Higher Cultures, using one of their cartridges. This one's Sativa. It's Sashimi number 11.
Sushimi.
And it hits. What about you, brother? What you smoking on?
I'm smoking on my pan per usual. I am smoking on that Pink Cookies by Crystal Clear. That is an old favorite of mine, as I think the people have known if they've been listening. But my neck has been kind of giving me some problems. So depending on how long this takes, I think I'm going to swing by a dispensary and grab a couple of edibles.
Oh, man.
And so when I get back to the house, I'm about to get lifted into a fucking jumbo jet called 420 and get off this planet.
It's a Boeing. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, we should. But yeah,
the
man,
medibles are dangerous.
but my neck is fucking have been giving me problems lately. I think the old age has been setting in a bit. I swear, you won't even have to do anything crazy. You just, you do something wrong too quickly or something like that.
Sleep wrong.
Bro, next thing you know, your fucking muscle on your neck, your back is all fucked up for a couple of days.
Guy wear a damn neck brace.
Dude.
Turning my head like Batman.
Dude, I got this little neck massager, and I've been using that today, and that's definitely loosened it up and made it feel a lot better. But earlier, I was just on the couch, blanket wrapped around my head, around my neck, just kind of keeping it still. I'm just oh my God.
It's aggravating, man. I hate when that happens.
It happened because I just got up too quick, too.
Oh, no.
Bro, it's because the fucking...
Damn.
I was like, God, just 24 hours ago, I was just fine. And now I'm in this fucking bullshit. It's because the cats were just running around causing too much shit. And I just kind of flipped blankets over. And I was like, hey. And I was like, oh.
It's the cat's fault.
I blame it on those fucking cats.
God damn it.
Oh, my God. But yeah, I'm definitely going to pop a couple of Eddies and some Eddie Royals.
Oh, man.
And we're gonna take care of that, though.
That's what's up, man. I mean, under the circumstances, that is a good plan.
I know. Luckily, there's movies and weed, and as long as I got those two things, shit.
Okay, quick question.
Yeah,
for real.
To quote old boy, shit.
Have you seen Honora yet?
I still haven't seen
Oh,
Nora
good
yet.
grief, man. What are you waiting for?
Bro, well,
Thought you loved cinema.
I was right about to say something, but I should not say that on mic. I'll tell you afterwards. But I was going to watch Strange Darling first.
Oh, yeah.
But then I saw Heretic, and I was like, man, that one has been intriguing me from the get-go. Strange Darling, that was the one that you kind of put me onto. So just in order, I totally forgot about Heretic, but I was like,
it's pretty good.
When I saw that on the list, I was like, let me pump this one out first. I'm about halfway through that movie. So far, so good. Hugh Grant plays a great character.
He's a good villain.
I still don't know, I mean, he seems like he's evil, but not completely evil. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely interested to see where that movie goes. But no, I have not seen Honora yet. That is coming after Strange Darling.
All right. Well, let's get out the weeds and into this movie. So the summary for this is it's the early 1970s, and Ron Stallworth is the first African-American detective to serve in the Colorado Springs Police Department. Determined to make a name for himself, Stallworth bravely sets out on a dangerous mission: infiltrate and expose the Ku Klux Klan. So just some background on this movie for folks who are not familiar.
Before you say that, you may actually already say it. I just want to say this is based on some for real shit.
Oh yeah.
As according to Spike Lee.
Yeah.
I love it when any movies that's based on a true story, that will definitely interest me. But how he words it, some for real shit.
Oh yeah.
That definitely cracked me up a little bit.
I love that. Yeah, the screenplay. Yeah, to your point, was inspired by the real life Ron Stallworth, who did infiltrate the Klan. Just quick shout out to Spike Lee. This is his first nomination for in the best director category. So this is his first. Yeah, I know, right? His first nomination in that category for best director.
Did you get nominated for Malcolm X?
No, this is literally his first one.
Damn.
I don't know what did Malcolm X. I don't know if it got nominated for anything. But
damn, no. Oh, well, maybe David Denzel probably got nominated. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Let me look into that a little bit while you're talking.
Well, this movie, what we're talking about nominations, it earned 6 Oscar noms, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Adam Driver, and it did win for Best Adapted Screenplay. This movie stars John David Washington, Adam Driver, as was mentioned, Laura Harrier, Topher Grace, Corey Hawkins, and also Alec Baldwin, among others. You about to say something?
No, you go ahead.
Man, so just thinking about this movie, man, I love the way that this movie balances humor with a really ugly subject matter. Because this movie is a tough watch at times. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think that that also, it's worth pointing out that Lee credited Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove as an example of another film that used humor to tell a very serious and dark story. In that case, it's nuclear holocaust. And in this one, it's just hate. I mean, the hate and the roots of hate in this country. And I think that this movie does a really fine job of setting the tone in the opening minutes, right?
Yeah.
Where we get this shot, this really almost famous crane shot from Gone with the Wind of Scarlett O'Hara searching through a train yard full of injured and dead Confederate soldiers. And then we see this shot of a Confederate tattered flag flapping in the wind.
Yeah.
And then immediately, right, we get this transition to a white supremacist played by Alec Baldwin lamenting the equality of black Americans and the Jewish international conspiracy to topple white rule in the U.S. That scene is on one hand, again, like, it's very ugly, but there's humor threaded in that scene, right? Because there are also outtakes that are combined within that footage.
You hear the person like recording it off camera.
Yeah. What does he say? He has a couple where he gets into the moment. He's very passionate. He's just like, God.
Yeah, like, dude, there's a part where he's like,
God, why? And then he ends with God bless white America.
And then you hear the chick off camera going like, yes, God bless white America.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that opening is such a great opening. It sets the tone for the movie as well. To know that, like, you're gonna like hear and see some like very just like graphic, for lack of a better term, things on camera. But it's also going to be balanced with like a little bit of humor. And I don't think the humor used in this movie is like very overt. It's not like completely hysterical. I wouldn't find it.
No.
I mean,
It's darker. It's gallows humor, I guess.
Humor is, it's very subjective to each their own. But watching this, nothing stood out as far as like knee slapping or like gut busting funny. It just made the subject matter more digestible.
Yeah. And an example of that for me is when Ron Stallworth comes across a KKK ad in the local paper, and he calls, leaves a message, gets a call back immediately from the local leader of the KKK chapter. And he said, so tell me about yourself. He said, well, since you asked. And he goes out just spewing all of these racial epithets. You know, he's like, I hate Jews, Dagos, Mix. And all of his white detective coworkers are like turning around, and the swivel of Andrew Driver's character Flip in his chair.
That's a deal, buddy boy. We'll get right back to you with the details. Take care now.
God bless white America.
Did I just hear you use your real name?
Oh, motherfucker.
Motherfucker, amateur hour.
That's your real name, right? Is it Ron Stallworth, right? Isn't that his real name? Well, good luck, Ron, with your new redneck friends.
Was gold, right? But that's like an example, though, of again, like threading that humor into this dark situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that was just a big highlight of mine, that scene. Just because as soon as he goes on his speech to a
little diatribe.
Yeah, his little diatribe. Dude, it's just such a pause because as soon as he drops the N-word, then because they just stop and then he just goes on and on and on. Like I said, I mean, granted that part could be a little bit of gut-busting funny.
Yeah.
But it's still just like, I don't know, there's just something, the way he just directs the scene is just still like tough to watch in a way.
Yeah.
But seeing him how he speaks to the captain and stuff, dude, I speak fluent jive and King's English. Dude, throughout this whole movie, there's moments where that's very hard to watch, but just even seeing how like the captain of like the police like even speaks to him in a way, it's just he's
the
still
captain or the chief.
The chief, that's what I mean.
Chief, okay,
just
yeah.
like he still just doesn't really get too much respect, even like throughout his whole the precinct, pretty much.
Yeah,
and one dude in particular that I will say, I wanted to make sure I get the actor. I want to say, is it him? Is it Fred Weller, the dude that plays the
Landers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'll give him his flowers because he played his role like a motherfucker. He did. But
I don't give two shits what your name is. Yo, oh my God.
Dude, and then like he gets some shit like kind of in that movie Crash with like the cops and like putting their hands on like the woman.
Yeah.
When they pull over Patrice and all them. Mm-hmm. But then you think, I don't want to skip, I'm skipping around a little bit. You just think like watching this character, like, my God, he just looks hateful and he plays the role so well. I mean, as an actor, don't want to give him any hate, but he plays that role exquisitely. But then you think, is this motherfucker going to get away with all his bullshit? Mm-hmm. And it's so satisfying to see at the end that he ends up getting got by everybody when they find him in the bar.
Oh yeah, they basically they trap him. They record him.
Yeah, that was such a satisfying.
That was a great scene. Yeah, I was happy with that. I mean, you bring up a good point about him as an actor because I think the acting in this movie is really good.
Yeah.
I loved John David. I mean, so I wasn't familiar personally with John David Washington. This was my entry point to him as an actor. I know he was in a series, but I don't know if most people feel this way, but this movie is what put him on the map. Mm-hmm. And he does an excellent job. Adam Driver does a really great job. I think that the dynamic between two of them really contributes to a buddy crime duo movie. Like that relationship growing in this over the course of their investigation was definitely a highlight for me. Patrice at times overacted a little bit. She felt like she was overacting a little bit.
Yeah.
But I did really appreciate that relationship between her and Ron, because I think that when he meets her, that kind of is when the story starts to shift gears, because Ron is initially brought in just to kind of get rooted in the plot. So Ron wants to become an officer, and he becomes the first ever black officer at this Colorado Springs Police Department. Yeah. And so he is already very much marginalized.
Need a file and a toad.
deaf? I said I need a file on a toad.
No toads here.
Excuse me?
I said I don't have any toads. I do have human beings. You give me their names, I'll get you the file.
I heard you think you're hot shit, but you ain't nothing but a cold fart. The name is Steven Wilson.
He gets his big break when he's doing intelligence, where he's assigned to be undercover and gain intel at a local black student union who's hosting Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael, and he wants to get intel to see, because the chief's concern, right, and this is also an important thing when we're talking about this movie, is that he perceives the Black Panthers to be a threat, the greatest threat possibly in this country, and their concern is that Ture coming into this town is going to upset and rile up the good black folks here.
The black radical Stokely Carmichael has given a speech tonight at Bell's Nightingale.
Yep.
Carmichael is a former high muckety-muck with the Black Panthers. As far as I'm concerned, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover was dead right when he said the Black Panthers are the greatest internal threat to the security of these United States. This Carmichael joker, former Panther or not, well, they say he is a damn good speaker. And so we don't want this Carmichael getting into the minds of the good black people here in Colorado Springs and stirring them up.
So that's his entry point, where not only we kind of see him in this, we can see him, and that we can see this dual consciousness that Patrice tells him about later on, right? Mm-hmm. Which is he's a black man and a cop, and both of those things are in this space and in many other situations very much at odds with each other. And I think that becomes a prevalent theme throughout this movie. But that was a really great scene. And I think that it establishes his relationship with Patrice, or sets up his relationship with Patrice, where we explore that more. Yeah, and then
as soon as he goes there, you can even see it on his face. It's the scene is very good when what's his name? He plays Dr. Dre, and it's quick little side note. All those actors that were in Straight Outta Compton, they've all kind of gone on to do have nice careers for themselves. Mm-hmm. So a quick shout out to them. But Corey Hawkins, who plays Kwame Ture, he's doing his thing and speaking his word and all that. But you could just see it on Ron Stallworth's face that looks like he's having that inner
conflict.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With him as a black man, him as a cop, but he wants to do right by being a cop. He wants to make change. And it's kind of if you're going to make change, sometimes you got to make it from within. Mm-hmm. And he's even explaining that to her, because from that moment, he's not really undercover for the Black Panther Party or anything like that. Mm-mm. And from that point, he's just doing the KKK stuff, mm-hmm. which he just kind of does that on a whim. Like you mentioned, when he just sees that in the newspaper, nobody tells him to do that or anything. He just
takes the initiative to do that.
Yeah, he takes the initiative and just gets this going. And it's kind of nice to see that Adam Driver does back him on some things. Just when he's just oh, well, Kwame Ture was talking about the
arm yourselves for the revolution.
Yeah, the revolution is coming, but he's I think that's just rhetoric. He's just talking. The vibe wasn't there, mm-hmm. and Adam Driver's character was kind of co-signing with him. He was yeah, I think so too. But then he kind of does the same thing for the white party when they kind of have a little bit of conflict, saying when what's his name, Ivanhoe. Mm-hmm. What's the actor's name? Paul Walter Hauser, when he's talking about explosions happening. Yeah. But Adam Driver's character is still kind of doing the same thing. Where it's I think he's just talking.
Rhetoric.
It's just
basically.
Rhetoric. But John David Washington is just nah, man. These people are just on to something more. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of interesting to see just kind of how they're going diverse in that type of scenes like that.
Yeah, and I think that's also an earlier point, right, where we see the tension between those two characters, because we learn that Flip is Jewish, mm-hmm. But he's been passing as a WASP. That's not something that he identifies. It's not a part of his identity in so much that it registers in how he sees himself day to day.
What is it? A white Anglo-Saxon Protestant?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a term or anything like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, and
But it's true though.
yeah, I mean, and so he's also experiencing that inner conflict where he's around he's trying to join an organization, a terrorist organization that hates Jews and black people alike. And so you can imagine, you start to see the tension in him,
Yeah.
you know, and how he begins to think about that identity that he never really considered or identified with.
Well, that was like another good scene. Like any scenes with the two of them together, whether it's just them two or more actors in the mix, are just like top notch, are huge highlights for this movie. And I want to get back to one of the scenes because that was a highlight. But the one I wanted to mention was like when they're kind of just talking about it, and he's just like, "Dude, you're Jewish, so you have skin in the game." So it's like all this like rhetoric that he's talking is like, doesn't that shit piss you off? It's
No,
like
of
that
course it
scene, then
does.
like going back and forth on that, and finally seeing Philip kind of like come out of his, not saying like maybe his shell, but like finally showing a little emotion on the stuff. You just don't kind of know where you think that he's down with the cause, but he's not really, like maybe like giving into it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's true. And there was that good line very early on in their relationship. I think it was after one of the I think Felix had the gun on Flip and was asking questions about, "You Jew, let me see your dick," and all this weird shit. He's like, "I heard y'all do weird shit with your dicks."
You circumstance it.
Yeah, bro. Oh my god, like Felix. So that actor nailed that role.
Dude, Jasper, I can't even, dude. His last name is spelled Paakkon.
Maybe Scandinavian.
And you got
Finnish.
you got the dots over the double A's and the O's. So I'm not even gonna like attempt to pronounce that because I know I'm just gonna butcher it.
Yeah.
But Mr. Jasper, you did a fantastic job playing Felix. He was, I mean, super believable, and it's kind of, excuse me, it's kind of tough, maybe giving actors their credit in movies like this. It's like, dude, you played that white supremacist really well.
Yeah.
You really said that N-word exquisitely. It's kind of hard, like, giving actors their credit in movies like this. But
Yeah, I know what you mean. I agree.
But I know, at least from my heart, I know where I'm coming from. It's like I know you as a man, that's not what you believe in. You're just playing a role.
Yeah.
But he plays that. He plays Felix. He was insane throughout this movie.
Yeah.
And like them having their back and forth taking the lie detector test. But
Well, after that scene, right? The chief not the chief, the captain is pissed. He said, "You're jerking my chain. You're jerking my chain. The chief's jerking my chain. It's a goddamn circle jerk." That scene was so fun.
that's the one to do with the glasses, right?
Yeah, that's the captain.
Okay, he's the captain.
Yeah.
And the chief was
He's the older white man.
The chief was the older white man. Okay, for sure.
But after that scene, right, they go into the records room or the files room, and that's when Ron and Flip have that conversation about, why are you like you have skin in the game? And Flip has that really great line to him. He said, "That's my problem. To you, it's a crusade. To me, it's a job."
Yeah.
And I thought that really encapsulated, I think, their tension up to that point.
Yeah.
Where, when he hadn't really bought all in. Yeah. But I think being around that and being exposed to that hate, it made him reevaluate his own identity. And I think that passing line that Ron gives him in that same conversation, I think that does start to mull on, like kind of reflect on that.
Yeah, it finally starts to stick with him a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not risking my life to prevent some rednecks from lighting a couple sticks on fire.
This is the job. What's your problem?
That's my problem. For you, it's a crusade. For me, it's a job. It's not personal, nor should it be.
Why haven't you bought into this?
Why should I?
Because you're Jewish, brother. The so-called chosen people. You've been passing for a WASP. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, cherry pie hot dog white boy. That's what some light-skinned black folks do. They pass for white. Doesn't that hatred you've been hearing the Klan say, doesn't that piss you off?
Of course it does.
Then why are you acting like you ain't got skin in the game, brother?
Rookie, that's my fucking business.
It's our business.
Highlight for me, though, I mentioned was like the scene when Ron and Philip, Flip, and what's the other dude's name? What's Jerry?
He's funny as hell.
Was it Jerry?
Was it Jerome? No, not Jerome.
Jimmy. Is it Jimmy?
Jimmy, yeah. I think you're right.
Dude, they're like when this early on in the case, and he's just going in and he's like, all right, you got to be me and you got to act like me and all that stuff. Dude, there's a line I wrote it down. It's not verbatim, but it's like, brother, we can't quit until we get our share. And then it's when Adam Driver is delivering the line.
Yeah.
And he's like, brother, we're not going to quit until we get our share. Well, that's not grammatically correct.
Oh, yeah. That's a good scene.
Dude, that scene when they're going back and forth and they're just like, getting in character, so to speak.
Yeah.
That was like a huge highlight for me.
Just as sure as you're born, but just as sure as it take.
Just as sure as you're born, but just as sure as it take.
2 eyes to make a pair. Huh.
2 eyes to make a pair.
Ha. 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 Brother, we can't quit till we get our share.
Brother, we can't quit till we get our share. Doesn't make grammatical sense, but okay.
Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Say it for OJ, Jimmy. You too. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud.
One of the highlights for me was when they're getting ready. I think, it's Jimmy, Flip, and Ron. And they're talking about after Landers pulled over Patrice and was sexually harassing her and groping her when he pulled them over. Ron has that conversation with him. He says, hey, it was Landers that pulled Patrice over. And they tell him about his history as a cop and how he killed this black kid who wasn't armed, claimed that he was armed, though. And there's that moment, right, where you see that kind of the blue wall and these cops protecting bad cops. And he says, we're a family. You want to be the one that goes in to their chief and tells them, rats on your own fellow officer. And Jimmy says, right or wrong, we stick together. And Ron responds with, that reminds me of another group. Yeah. And I think that was like a moment too where he there is that kind of, he's facing that tension between his two identities, a black man and being a cop, and he's really feeling it as a black man witnessing cops violating the law, being unethical,
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I mean, and you see that too, even towards the end when Ron chases down the big bitch,
oh my God, yeah,
Connie,
yeah,
and it's just like,
bro,
bro. If I had to tango with her, I would have my hands full.
Literally,
dude. We're not gonna get onto that. Anyways, but you see, when he chases her down because she's placing the bombs, or getting Plan B started, however you want to look at it. And then some cops pull up, and they're just pretty much getting on a run. And they don't even take a second. He's trying to tell them that he's undercover, that he's got his badge in his pocket and all that. Yep. And they're just not hearing none of it. They're just put his ass down. I'm not sure. Did they actually start beating on him?
Oh, yeah. They started. Yeah. They brought out the batons and started.
God. And it's
wailing on him.
And they don't even really stop or give him a second to think until
Flip arrives. Yeah.
Until Flip shows up. And my God, like I said, you just see just cops and sometimes in just such a bad light with how that scene plays out. But even go back to when Ron is talking to Patrice in the bar where he's just like, you think all cops are bad? And it is true. It's you shouldn't generalize just exactly how they are when they're saying, oh, they're all mongrels and savages and all that type of shit. Not all cops are bad. Yeah, there are some that are fucking pieces of shit and that abuse the power and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But there are some good ones out there that are probably trying to make some change.
Yeah.
It's just maybe they just need to be a little bit louder for that change and speak up when you see your fellow brother doing some dirty ass shit, because that's probably the biggest issue.
Well, I'm just thinking, with this in this movie, I think it does a good job of showing us the conflict with each of these players, the main characters, because the main characters are really Ron and Flip. I think it does a good job of kind of also showing different aspects of Ron's life But I think one of my favorite scenes, some of my favorite scenes, are when he's talking to David Duke, and I think one of the really great scenes that kind of leads up to that is when the captain and Ron are talking, and he mentions the captain mentions David Duke, who's no longer going as the Grand Wizard of the KKK, but is going as the national director, and how he's kind of presenting more of a button-down, quote-unquote, non-violent face to the KKK.
To me, it's just a more disguised version.
Exactly. It's like Richard Spencer, right?
Or how how Felix gets pissed at Ron, not Black Ron, White Ron.
Yeah.
When he gets pissed at him, and he's like, "Don't refer to it as the Klan; it's the organization."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you guys are just trying to hide your hate. So.
Oh yeah, right. But the captain in that conversation tells Ron, he says that Duke is using politics as a vehicle to sell hate.
Yeah. And
he talks specifically about affirmative action, like issues like that, crime, immigration, and tax reform, and using leveraging bigotry under the umbrella of those things.
Yeah.
And people can accept it when it's kind of streamlined into those issues. Mm-hmm. And I thought that he talks about the goal of getting someone into the White House who embody those views, that being the goal.
Yeah.
And then all of this is this movie was made in 2018, so this movie is midway into the Trump presidency.
Yeah.
This is not far removed from the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, which this movie includes footage of at the very end. So I thought that was a very timely line. Mm-hmm. Well written as well. Given what was happening at that time, especially.
Well, what was happening at that time then, and even kind of what's happening now.
Yeah.
So it's still a very relevant movie. Just like some of, like you said, the rhetoric that they used, even the scene when Ron and the chief, the one with the glasses, captain,
the younger one,
the one with
That's
the glasses,
the captain.
And he's just like, I think they were talking about David Duke in that scene,
Yeah,
and he's just like, Captain, they will never elect somebody like that in office. And he's just like, you just can't be that naive as a black man. As a black man, I can't believe you're that naive.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, Ron, come on now. Like,
yeah.
Especially at that time, it's like, bro. Granted, fast forward maybe because we're in 2025, but it's like, dude, you got to wake up too. Even at that time, it's like, of course they would believe that type of shit. They believe anything. Like those cops at the end was beating on you. Yeah, so it's like, even at that time, you got to believe that like at some like where does the buck stop at some point? And that's why I don't want to skip to the end or anything like that. Or should we skip? I just want to mention like the ending scene a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Just mention like how it ends with. Like they show, this movie's supposed to take place in the 70s, but now they show the current times, 2017, and all the fucking like the riots and the protests and all that type of stuff happening, and current David Duke and what he's like, still what he's saying and what he's spewing out. So it's just a very relevant movie, and this like the way it ends, like it almost ends kind of like on a bleak note.
Yeah. Yeah.
In which, granted, we did Infinity War. Go check out that review. And that movie kind of ends on a bleak note. So I can't really hate on a movie that ends on a bleak note, really, since that's one of my favorite movies. But it just doesn't happen too often. When that happens, it's kind of like, I guess it's a little bit jarring.
It is jarring.
But it's just like, it's real.
Another movie that I remember leaving, it's a very bleak movie like this. And, but I walked out with I left the movie with the same.
Requiem for a Dream.
No, I've never seen that movie. That is on my list. I heard you have to be in a certain headspace to watch that.
Yeah,
but you also have to be in a certain headspace to watch American History X, which is the movie I was referring to. That movie is very difficult to watch, and it's also very heartbreaking, and it ends in it's a very sad ending.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to it. It's all about execution.
Yeah, I don't mind sad endings.
I don't mind them either, because sometimes that's real shit. You feel me?
Yeah, exactly. You can't always have a happy ending because that's what life is, man.
Yeah.
It says Michael Buscemi played Jimmy Creek.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi has a brother?
Is that Steve Buscemi? I can actually kind of see
looks
that
like
now
him
that
just
you
like,
say
with
that.
The eyes and everything. Look at him.
Is he related to him?
He's got to be related to him. Look at him.
Huh. I mean, I don't know how common. I've never heard of another Buscemi.
Siblings. Yeah,
They are?
Ken
Okay.
and Steve. Yeah, there it is.
That makes sense then. But to your point, though, I think this is what stuck with me and why I do appreciate this movie so much is that it is timely, given where the nation was at that time when this movie dropped and where we are at this moment. But really, after the political ascendancy of Trump, the closing footage of 2017 in Charlottesville, it really hit home. I remember when I saw this in the theater, it really, really hit home at that moment because it really underlined how far we have to go as a nation.
Yeah.
In addressing and healing from a lot of age-old problems and hate.
It's like we've come a long way and still got a lot of way to go.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I think about it.
Yeah.
Because of course it's like you see a lot of colored people, not just black people, but all types of people in like some positions of power, no matter like all sports, whether it's like sports or health and science and anything like that. But when you see people in 2017 going out there with all of people saying that type of shit, that's just when you realize like, yeah, we've come a long way, but we are still nowhere near of like completely being fully accepted as like a whole nation.
Yeah. I thought one thing I did want to call out really quickly was I want to shout out the costume designer, Marcy Rogers. I think that they did a great job of nailing the 70s aesthetics. I read that she drew inspiration from, Jet Magazine, Essence, J.C. Penney catalogs, Sears. I thought that was a really well done. That it looked great in that sense, and also the cinematography. I like Chayse Irvin is the cinematographer, but he drew inspiration from the 70s and also the photography of Gordon Parks. I love the cinematography in that scene where Touré's giving the speech, and we see these highlights on these faces in the crowd and how they're responding, and it's almost as though they're against the black backdrop. It's like these heads are floating. Dude, that scene was special. I love that. I love the cinematography in that scene. Definitely highlight.
I love how they shot that as well, because even how they like when he was going to more descriptions of like the lips and the nose and everything like that. But I couldn't help myself but think of like the Tupac and Suge Knight.
I did not even think about that. That's fucking hilarious.
I could not help but think about that. Just like how they're posing and everything.
Yeah, no,
that shit cracked me up.
Yeah, that was one of my. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out the cinematography and the costume design.
Quick thing on the costume though. I was gonna say J.D. Washington. I mean John D. Washington. Yeah, you can call him J.D. Washington. The fro was working and everything like that. But there was a scene where like he wakes up and he answers the phone and blah 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 and he's getting ready. No, I've had some afros in my day. No fucking way anybody with a fro is waking up and that shit is still perfect like that. Get the fuck out of here. That shit should have been all types of fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
But two quick things. Also, one is the use of the N-word, too, was just like, it's always jarring for me every time I hear it. But it's just like he almost was giving Quentin Tarantino and Django a little bit of run for his money. How many? I mean, maybe if you watch Django, I mean, we did review Django. That's in the unkept
vault.
files. Yeah, in the vault somewhere. But it'll be interesting to see the N-word comparison because you just hear it so many damn times in there. It's just like, ugh. But I mean, it is the time. It's very accurate. I'm not going to knock the movie for that. But another thing that kind of stood out for me is something that more recently, Black Panther might be getting recasted allegedly.
Oh, yeah.
And
we talked about this.
a couple of names. One name, Aldous Hodge, who I definitely would throw my name in the hat for. He should be the new Black Panther if they do recast it, from my personal opinion. But John David Washington was also being rumored as well. And honestly, I didn't really see him as Black Panther or anything like that. Like I said, I'm more an Aldous Hodge fan. Not thinking John David Washington doesn't have like the acting capability or anything, but I didn't really get that feel. But honestly, after watching like more of his work and seeing him in this role, it definitely got me feeling a little bit more towards that. I think I can accept him if he did get hired on into that role as like that leader, leader of a kingdom, leader of people.
Yeah,
I could definitely see maybe even like his role as in the creator as well. Shout out to that movie.
Mm-hmm. That was a good movie.
Seeing more of his work, I'm definitely warming up to that idea if he did get casted as that. So
yeah,
John David Washington once again does his thing in this movie.
No, I mean he does. And I'm trying to think. I've seen this movie. I've seen Tenet.
Creator.
Seen The Creator. I've liked him in every movie I've seen of his. I haven't seen Malcolm and Marie. He did a movie with Christian Bale that I haven't seen.
I heard that movie Amsterdam wasn't that good.
That's not to say it was bad because of him, or it could have just been bad writing, to be fair. But I've liked him in every movie that I've seen him in. But I've seen him in pretty diverse roles, actually, yeah. I've seen him in a sci-fi, historical drama. Actually, no. 2 sci-fis. Tenet's sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Time travel, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, he's doing his thing.
Oh, well, so he doesn't even have a name in Tenet. It's just called The Protagonist.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, you got to check that one out, man. I'm
surprised
you haven't seen it yet.
I know. I'm such a huge Nolan
I know you're
fan.
a Nolan, yeah, big Nolan fan.
Inception is. If we ever did do Inception, that also might be joining the illustrious 5-star club.
Yeah, for good reason. That's a great
Francisco.
movie.
But I mean, we've highlighted this movie tremendously up to this point.
Hold on, real quick.
What's up?
Damn it! Why did you say this? And now we got to get in the weeds about. Okay. We were talking about. Fuck! I just zoned out.
Oh no!
Hold on. Back up. We were just talking about Inception. We were talking about Christopher Nolan. Okay. My personal favorite is Inception, but I think Oppenheimer might be his best movie.
Yeah.
That movie is excellent. It's a long watch.
Dude, I watched
But I do really, really enjoy that movie.
Oppenheimer and Dune is one of those movies that I literally I turned it on back to back. I watched it, finished it, and I was like, I got nothing else to do. I'll just throw it on again. Mm-hmm. Because it's so enjoyable. The pacing is good. It doesn't feel any lulls in it. Oppenheimer was my number 1 movie that year.
Yeah, it was up there for me. And plus, I mean, I feel like you learn something new. You pay attention to different things because there are so many relationships to keep track of. Mm-hmm. I think I would imagine that it rewards multiple viewings.
Yeah. But Inception is a little bit more fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Just because it's just like the visuals of it as well. I like a little bit of Joseph Gordon-Levitt and like the floating scene towards the end with like the hallway and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's just so many cool scenes in that movie.
Great story, great character. I love the character and the details.
Yeah,
I
love the memes too. Where he's like, how can I guarantee you can't?
He's such a great actor too.
The Asian dude.
I love that dude. He even killed it in The Creator. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, out of the weeds, back into this movie.
I was gonna say any negatives you want to like dive into before we do scores.
Any negatives? Hold on, let me say. I'll let you start with the negatives, but there's something I do want to call out. There's a couple of really great highlights that I would be remiss not to touch on. One is Henry Belafonte's cameo, where he recounts the lynching of Jesse Washington. Mm-hmm. The way that scene was cross-cut with the KKK initiation ceremony was really impactful for me because we're seeing what the hate that these men are pledging their lives to and committing to translates to in history.
Yeah.
And I thought that the details and just the way that scene with Henry Belafonte was shot, where we get their faces, we get the reactions, and that was a really beautifully shot and really powerful juxtaposition to see those two things. But also another thing that I really have to highlight is I like the way that Spike Lee pokes at the Gone with the Wind and The Birth of a Nation, because those two movies are objectively landmarks in cinema, but with very controversial and racist roots.
Yeah.
throughout this movie, I feel like he kind of poked at these movies. Like Birth of a Nation was watched during the Klan ceremony, almost as a feel good story for them to cope with a changing America. Yeah, you know, I thought that there's some really great detail where it pays tribute, but also makes light and pokes fun at and denigrates like these older movies. So an example of him praising, right, was the conversations and the references to Shaft, Superfly, you know, things like that, which is, you know, that's kind of like some of the best of that era of black cinema. Yeah. But anyways, sorry, what were we about to say? I felt like you were about to say something.
No, I mean, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that because that was a huge highlight. Just, I mean, you went into, I don't really have too much to add to it. That was a great moment for that scene, but it's also interesting just to see like the like you said, the juxtaposition of like the one meeting with Harry Belafonte's character and just like the room filled with love compared to a room full of hate, and just seeing just like how those two, I mean, granted, like they think what they're doing is some righteous bullshit and that's supposed to be a room full of love, but you just see how different is how it is, but so, I mean, it still has like some similarities. Like I said, like they think that what they're doing is right. It's supposed to be love over in that white brotherhood bullshit, but there's just, that room is full of just so much anger and so much hate, and it's just interesting how they cut both meetings with one another, and then when they start mentioning the movies and all that type of stuff, they start showing it on screen. It's just the visuals of it was like very pleasing to see.
Yeah. As far as negatives, I mean, what's on your list? What do you have?
Honestly, I didn't even put any negatives on the list.
I can't think of any either.
I can't think of any overt negatives that I can think of, or like even when I was watching it. I mean, the only negative is it's just a tough subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, and that's.
And that's not really a negative.
That's not a negative. It's just it is what it is. I mean, that's the genre that that's the world that they chose to create.
Well, maybe I will. I mean, great. I was about to say a negative. I'm like, I don't even really agree with it though. I guess maybe you could shave off some time, because when I looked at it, I was like, damn, this is like 2:15.
Yeah,
but
it didn't feel like a lag though when I watched it.
No, because
even the credits at the end, the footage of Charlottesville was impactful. I know that added some minutes, but that was actually like. It made the story hit home.
To me, it's like it was like if like whether it's like the end credits or not, would I like turn it off or like start leaving the theater? Like it's not like the credits were rolling and it's just like you know, just like some little bloopers, whatever. It's like actually has like meaning to the story. It still has just has a lot of meaning to it. Yeah, but yeah, I can't think of anything as far as like bad, because I mean this movie is it's quite enjoyable. I mean, like I said, a tough subject matter, but the acting's great, the cinematography is great, the not the movie, but the soundtrack. Yeah, love the tunes that they decided to play during this movie.
Yeah, great.
Even God, they did what's the song? It was fuck, I'm trying to think of how the melody goes, because I remember hearing it in Scissors Act 2.
Too Late to Turn Back Now.
Is that it? It's like
that's the one they're playing at the early when Patrice and
I just remember there's a part where they're like segregation, validation,
oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know. Is it Temptations? Maybe it kind of sounded like the Temptations.
I can't remember what
that is. A fire song though. I know what you're talking about.
They played the actual version of it, like just like over whatever dialogue is going on, but you hear in the background, and I'm just like, oh shit. But I just think of fucking Sisters Act 2 when they're doing their fucking shit, which is quite an underrated movie. Yeah, not a huge Whoopi Goldberg fan, but she's got some bangers in her.
Oh yeah, Ghost.
She's got some banger. Even I remember seeing Eddie.
Eddie. Oh god,
is that the New York Knicks movie?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in theaters a long time ago.
Yeah, man, that's 90s. But yeah, I mean, so all right. Well, thinking about scores, man. You want to kick us off?
Sure, man. I am going to go with a 4.5. It doesn't quite get the 5-star just because, I don't know if I'll ever put I don't know. I don't want to hate on it just because of the subject matter, but these movies just don't quite come to my mind of like something that I just like I want to turn on for like comfort or just watch just off a whim. It has some rewatchability to it because
I know what you mean.
It
I
is
totally
a
get
well-made movie all in all. It has very it makes the humor in it makes it digestible. It makes it rewatchable in a way. But these types of movies I just don't necessarily go to because I'm a person who is mixed. My mother was black. And so hearing the N-word just repeated over and over, like in a movie, those type of movies just don't, I just don't gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And so but it's still a well-made movie. I can't hate on it. It's enjoyable. The pacing is good. The soundtrack is great. Cinematography, directing, cast, nothing but praise for this movie. It deserves all the accolades. And like I said, it made me even look at John David Washington even in a different light as far as his career goes. Nothing but good things to say about this movie. 4.5. That's what I give it. Man,
this is a week where we are in agreement. Man, I love this movie. I think when I think about my personal favorites of Spike Lee's, I mean, Malcolm X, Clockers, and this, those are my personal top three.
Did he do Higher Learning?
No, that's Singleton. Singleton did that one. This is a great movie. I highly recommend this movie to people who haven't seen it. I think the subject matter is timely. The execution of this storyline is really great. I think it's also at times very disheartening because the way that this movie ends, his chief orders him to destroy all the records of this investigation. Yeah. The FBI was actually infiltrating and knew about what they were doing. Yeah. We learned that through the course of this story, and they actually hand over some information to Ron, but they don't help any further. Yeah. And that's really disappointing when you think about how aggressive they were reacting towards the Black Panthers, which you see in another incredible movie, which is Judas and the Black Messiah. You and I have talked about that movie. We actually recorded an episode, but it was very early on, and we may have to redo that one. But that's a phenomenal movie, and I think that it's a must-see as far as not just black cinema, but cinema in this century. I would put both of these movies on that list. Check it out. It's absolutely worth seeing. It was also a return to form, in my opinion, of Spike Lee.
And honestly, think of comparing those two movies. It's a great duality in a way of you see just the chemistry between John David Washington and Adam Driver versus Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. Both of those movies, they both have great just chemistry on screen with one another. Is that is that Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith's only movie together, or they got something else?
It's the only one that I know of.
I feel like they have another movie together, but don't want to get into the weeds on that. Quick question, though. Okay. We did mention this off mic. Now we're bringing it onto the mic. Spike Lee movies. Is this your top three in your top three Spike Lee movies?
This is behind, Malcolm X, Clockers, and this.
This would be number three then?
These are my top three. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I haven't seen Clockers. I have to check that out.
Oh, that's an excellent movie.
So let me look at Spike Lee's movies. I will put Blackkklansman on there.
Top three, huh?
I think it does make my top three. What else is on there? Inside Man. Okay. And actually, and He Got Game.
Bro, no Malcolm X?
Honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I have to go back. Dude, I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid.
That's such a great movie.
Didn't that movie come with a dual VHS?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and Titanic and being like, oof, this is a rough. This is going to be a long one. But I think those are my Do the Right Thing could maybe get in there because Do the Right Thing is a fun movie as well. But I would say He Got Game might be number one. Blackkklansman. Actually, no, yeah. He Got Game number one. Inside Man number two. Blackkklansman number three.
Okay.
Boom. That's the Spike Lee top three for me.
Yo, I just saw that. I read that Spike Lee's doing a crime thriller. And guess who's producing it? A24.
Oh, I'm about to say, I was like, it's A24 and Apple TV. It's called Highest to Lowest.
Yo, that is one of my favorite production companies right now.
It says right now
So great.
it's an English language remake of the 1963 Japanese film High and Low. It's loosely based on the 1959 novel King's Ransom by Ed McBain. The film stars Denzel Washington, Ilfnish Hedera, Jeffrey Wright, Ice Spice, and A$AP Rocky. Whoa, we started off really good, and it just went up hard left with Ice Spice and A$AP Rocky.
Yeah, that is wild.
But Spike Lee, Denzel, A24, I'm there.
Yeah. Well, that concludes our episode for this week. Stick with us next week. We'll be dropping another movie for Black History Month. Catch y'all next time.
Peace.